It's movie time with John DeSando and his friends online. So everything is gonna be just fine. From the top down to the bottom. He's gonna let you know if you should stay home or if you should go. Might even yell if it's a spectacle. From San Francisco to Long Island. 'Cause nothing's better than a motion video.
It's movie time. It's produced and hosted by John DeSando. Listen to broadcast shows Fridays at 4:01 and 8:01 p.m. Read reviews and listen to shows online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
And I'm K G Kline.
And this is It's Movie Time. Now, Ken, I know you're always bursting to start. So let me preface this by saying we are talking today about the work of the most, how shall we say, not prolific, but I'll bet he is.
Not prolific, but has had more influence on pop culture than any director.
And made more money.
And
His movies
undoubtedly made more money.
Right. So Steven Spielberg we bow in honor of a man who knows how to make good movies that appeal
I
to the
doubt there
audience.
is anyone in America that whose lives have not been touched by Steven Spielberg in one way or another. Whether it is the ball rolling down on Indiana Jones or the E.T.'s fingertip, and I'll be right here.
All right, so
we all have memories of Spielberg.
We'll talk about that later on in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Right now we have Disclosure Day, and we both have seen it, and I'm wondering about your reaction to Disclosure Day.
Disclosure Day, John, is Spielberg's best movie since Ready Player One.
Yeah, all right.
It is a wonderful, fun film. He's going back to his roots with this one. He's going back to Close Encounters, E.T., there's a lot of Minority Report in it, and there's also a lot of the influences that influenced those movies early on. The movies like the Disney films, Shaggy Dog and Herbie the Love Bug.
All right, stop, Ken. God, I gotta stop you. And let's do that later.
Okay.
Right now, there are people out there who don't give a hoot about your filmography of Steven Spielberg. What they want to know is this a movie I can go to and enjoy with my family?
Absolutely.
All
This
right.
is a very, very enjoyable film. Spielberg really has gone back to the escapist fantasies that he did that made his career.
And similar to E.T., which Audrey Harkinen and I have done this week, so people would know.
E.T. or Close Encounters?
I'm sorry, Close Encounters,
Yeah.
have done in preparation for this movie, and I
Mhm.
think it's a good preparation. I think there's a connection between the two. Now, as a movie itself, Disclosure Day, what's to offer us?
Well, Disclosure Day is a much darker movie than E.T. Or even Close Encounters.
Close Encounters, right.
You could make an argument it might be a direct sequel to Close Encounters. There are elements in Disclosure Day that suggest it's within the same universe. But if it is, then that means that the universe of Close Encounters took a slightly dark political turn after the end of that movie. But what I love about this is Spielberg is staying true to his humanist roots. This is a story about characters, first and foremost. Characters caught in a very fantastical situation, and that's what he does so well.
Yeah, you know, that I was about to scream, and you can, in the screening that Wayne and I went to, and Audrey, because there was very few, if any, people there with us. So I could yell out, when does this thriller start to be an alien visitation movie? Because honest, Ken, half of this could be a thriller for any movie. Very, very well done. When you get to that bus scene, you got somebody who knows how to make movies and make thriller movies. But as far as it being connected in any deep way to alien visitation, it doesn't yet get going until then.
It sets up more of a political thriller at the start.
Yeah.
The politics of the time is the repression of any information about aliens. So in that way, it's more like X-Files. If you're a fan of X-Files, oh my gosh, you're going to love this movie.
Yep.
And it's so, you're encountering the opponent. Now, Spielberg in E.T. and in Close Encounters, there was no real villains. There was the people from the government who were being overprotective of the aliens. But it would be a stretch to say that Francois Truffaut in Close Encounters was a villain, any more than the guy with the keys in E.T. was a villain.
And in Close Encounters, they're being chased.
They're being chased.
And yet, basically, the people who are chasing them are going to want them to get the heck out of there.
They want to
all.
protect the aliens, but that is not the case in this one. In this one, they are protecting the knowledge, the information of the existence of the aliens because they are afraid of a social collapse should the news get out. But the movie has this subplot that never develops about the world being on the verge of nuclear war. And so Spielberg plays this rather cliche subplot of just when the world's about to go to nuclear war, something tremendous has to happen to save us and pull us back from the edge. And I really wish he had done a little more with that because that's such a heavy topic. You really just can't give it lip service.
And I think it's because he put such an emphasis on the very slick first part of that movie, which is the thriller that I talk about. And so I think that he just lost his sense of wonder in that. And he was being very modern. This I want to say that I'm praising him for this. This is where he's bringing it modern. And just as you've talked about, the safety of information, and the attempt to kind of separate people who have minds of their own, who might challenge whatever the government is doing. It has a lot of Trumpian feel to it.
Early Spielberg films did not focus on politics. There's no politics in Jaws or Close Encounters.
Right.
But there is in this because Spielberg's matured. He's just this side of 80 years old, and he feels the weight of the change that he has seen in society and in politics. And he can't help but bring that in, even though that means that this film is never going to be like his early films.
But if you remember in Jaws, where the mayor has to close down the beach, that's the politics.
that was the very simplistic, almost Disney level politics.
Oh, it was.
That was right out of the Boatniks. But the thing here is that Spielberg stays true to himself by portraying four very, very accessible and relatable characters. We've got this two couples. One couple is this weather woman, played very well by Emily Blunt.
Boy,
oh my gosh.
She doesn't get a nomination.
She is fantastic in this movie. And then her boyfriend, who is the more down-to-earth realist that doesn't buy into what's going on. And then on the other hand, you have this agent working for this government agency who's stolen the information, the videos of the aliens, and his girlfriend, who I found fascinating, who is a nun who decided not to take her vows and is now on the run with him. So that introduces the whole element of religion into this and faith in human beings, and I found her to be a fascinating character, even though I wish she had been developed a little bit more.
Well, they even had a nun in there for me.
Oh, the Mother Superior, yeah.
You're right, yeah.
Yes.
Which I always enjoy because they're stern and knowledgeable and don't challenge them. And she's looking with her glasses down like this and just assessing what's going on.
And Spielberg doesn't hesitate to bring religion into this. How does religion react to the idea of life outside the universe? And he does an excellent job of explaining that. I think he really pulled that part off.
I think Colin Firth as a bad boy is a good one.
Is a very good choice.
Very good. He's cold, impersonal.
He's our villain.
Yeah.
He, much more than we had in most Spielberg movies. He's the one trying to stop them. And there is a lot of gun use in this, which is very unusual for Spielberg. Normally a Spielberg film, again, staying to his Disney kind of roots, he doesn't introduce guns. When he did the re-release of E.T., he CGI'd out the pistol that was on the key man's belt. But in this movie, you've got a lot of shots being fired, and thankfully not too many hitting.
And this weekend I was up at their magic show in the Amish country in Berlin, and the show reintroduced a gun.
Oh,
and it hadn't used a gun for a couple of years, and I thought, well, they were obeying the current trend to not to use guns. But just as you were talking about it now, I'm reminded of this, they brought that back somehow. And I wonder if they're feeling comfortable taking that particular harsh side of our society, whereas Spielberg was representing the best.
Well, Spielberg could have done this movie without the guns, so it's very interesting to see a Spielberg movie with this much use of firearms, because that's something that he usually doesn't incorporate into his movies.
Don't you think that's feeling the zeitgeist at this time, which is certainly ruder than it was when Spielberg was in
This is definitely a heavier movie than Close Encounters. There's a palpable weight to this movie that you didn't have with, say, Close Encounters or E.T. And this movie takes off, but it never soars the way those movies did. There's a great scene in this movie where you have two invisible fire trucks blast out of a building past the bad guys and take off. But if this had been E.T., those fire trucks would have flown up into the air with the John Williams string section in the background playing da 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 da.
Oh, and you're so right. And then take a smaller notion, the car going through the building, through the home.
Yeah.
Smashing through the home. That's pretty rough imagery. I thought it was a great shot.
There would have been a lot more, in an early Spielberg film, a lot more innocence to this story, and a lot more things flying through the air. And there would have been those great, great moments when the movie just soars and your heart just leaps as you're watching Ellie across the sky, or you're watching the spaceship go off with When You Wish Upon a Star.
Well, K G Kline, people want to hear more from you. They want to hear always less from me, and I'm perfectly willing to comply. But they're going to have to go to our podcast experience, to our back talk, if they want to hear more. And we're planning to launch ourselves right into more Spielberg. All right, Ken. We need to close out a little bit our disclosure day so that we can get to more Spielberg. But you can't stop you from bringing him in as you did in our last segment. It's movie time. So, thoughts for the family. You know, what are you going to tell?
It's a fine family film. Yes, there's a little bit more gun use than I would have liked. But it's Spielberg, it's science fiction, he's not going to offend anyone, it's a good time, and the man is about to turn 80, John, so you have to ask, how many more films are we going to get from him?
Like you would ask me how many more shows.
I would never ask you that. But Spielberg definitely, you know, we're on our final films with him, and it's so nice to see him going back to his roots and doing science fiction at least one more time.
Boy, he's showing no signs of aging, really. He's showing signs of maturity.
Maturing. I was just going to say that. He's matured, but he's not showing signs of aging, other than the fact he's only making a movie about every 4 years.
And his maturity is evidenced by me with the number of possible contemporary allusions it can make to the contemporary situation in our society and our government and so on. They're all there. You know, I think those references are there subtly in his film that he, as you would say, in picking any number of films before this, he doesn't get political.
He didn't get political early on. There's nothing political in his films from the 70s and 80s.
There is in this.
But there is in this, and he has been political for a little while now, and I think he's at the point where the weight of the world and the nostalgia for better times is all weighing on him, and he has to make a statement.
Yeah. You mentioned Rogue One.
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. And I'm remembering now, it was a curious film.
Set in Columbus, Ohio.
Yes.
Yes, set in the future in Columbus.
Were people's minds controlled or something?
Well, it's where they were all playing a visual game.
That's right.
And that game had a reward of the most profitable company ever created to whoever could solve the puzzles. Based on a really, really good book, too, by the way.
So somebody who became a trillionaire, I'll bet.
Well, a couple of them did, but yeah, if you've not seen Ready Player One, you have not seen probably the best movie ever set in Columbus, Ohio. And I love that. I love all the pop culture references in that movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's
Movie time with John DeSando and his friends online. So everything is gonna be just fine. From the